Blessings upon blessings, everyone. Hope all is well with you guys. I ain't gonna do too much of the introduction. I'm gonna just dive right into this thing. So long I've been wanting to get into this whole like podcasting thing and everything. Just kind of get into what's like been on my mind and my heart and stuff. Like when I first wanted to get into this, it was more for a financial gain thing. Like I wanted to do it because I seen that it was an avenue to basically like get in revenue. So this is why I originally wanted to do it, which is over like 3 years ago. But I never jumped into it, and I never understood why I didn't. Everybody was all for it, telling me go for it and do it. Certain things lined up that I had to talk about, certain topics, which I still want to bring to the forefront at some point. But at the moment, I've been more so guided to do this lately than me just wanting to. A certain rough patch in my life recently where it put me in a isolation mode, right? So in this isolation, I did some searching, just trying to get a feel for where I'm at with it, who I am, where I'm going, what I want. Because when you go through certain situations and you got to reevaluate your life, it's definitely a struggle and a difficult position to be in. So, when you see your life going one way and then it just takes a whole left turn or, a 180, you got to get back to the drawing board and figure it out all over again. So, me putting myself in that isolation, I was able to do that. And then that's where I noticed that this became more of a calling than me actually wanting to do it for selfish reasons or purposes. So it's definitely not easy. It's not an easy thing to do, to put yourself out there, get in front of this camera and just talk, speak your mind and your heart and your feelings. But when you got it to do it, I guess, the best thing you can do is just start somewhere, just have a start. And eventually, I guess it flows. So, being on this journey and having a awakening is what they'll call it, what I'll call it too. You start to look at life from a different aspect, to where you do see things more clear, although it's still distorted. You have a clear view on who you are, when it comes to like that spiritual world, being a spiritual being. Because when you do, you kind of feel lost because there's not too many people in that realm that's usually in your circle or around you, or that you communicating with, that's actually in that same kind of mind frame, or they just not on the same level of consciousness that you on. So you start to feel alone. You feel like there's nobody you could talk to that's gonna understand, where you're coming from with this when you get into it. If it wasn't for like certain videos or certain, things that I've watched, that you actually get to see other people who are in that realm, that do think like you, that have been through awakenings, that do feel that, it inspires you to know that, you're not alone in it, and that it is people out there who do understand. So I think me bringing this to fruition and me talking about these things is just more to show, other people that come through, that's like me, that's lost in it at first, that you're not bugging, you're not alone, and it's okay to, tap in. I was at a place where I'm wondering, like, what am I gonna talk about? You think about, like, how is it gonna be? Is people gonna be able to relate? Are you doing the right thing? When really you get that in a voice that just tells you to do it, tells you to speak. I do believe that in this realm right here that I'm in is like, there's so many other people that's also going through that, and to me it starts to feel like just like a piece, like a puzzle. Like I feel like I'm a piece to a puzzle, and each piece has its certain place, a spot in it to basically create the bigger picture of what it is that I would say the source is trying to create. I ask for the guidance to be able to get through this, because this is definitely a start for me. And you try to find the words and the clarity, because sometimes when you get in front of the camera to actually do it, it's not the same way of how you thinking about things in your mind. Like, you can be anywhere doing anything, and all these creative thoughts and ideas and everything that you want to say, it just comes right to you at that moment. And most of the times at that moment, we are not prepared to just pull a camera out, or just start recording, or just start going and tapping into the thoughts right then and there and getting it out. Some people do live for it to that extent where they are able to do that. Unfortunately, me being new, getting into it now, it's like, working, doing other stuff, and dealing with life on a society level, that's just not in it's not in my grasp at the moment. But I'm definitely gonna work myself up to getting to that point. I feel like when I had this awakening, I went through a rough patch, right? And I've never been the type of person to like get into certain things and then ask God like, oh, can you get me out of this? I messed up, I would never do it again, and this, that, and third. No. Like, I was always the type of person, like, I've always had an understanding of what I did. I knew it was wrong or whatever. I would just basically ask to be protected through whatever consequences or repercussions that I had to endure due to my actions. So, I've always had a sense of feeling very protected, very spiritually protected. And I've always had a sense of wanting to do more, or just had that feeling of I was supposed to bring more to life than what I was doing. At this point, it's like I'm being tugged to, or pushed to actually move forward and actually do this. So, a lot of times I went through, most of the times I do certain things and it's always an instant karma. But I always know I was like really, really, really protected, right? So it's like at times where certain things would happen and I didn't understand why these things would happen. It's certain things that should have happened or could have happened that didn't happen because of whatever detour I was put on, or whatever energy was around me that didn't allow me to be in certain places at a time, is what really started to show me that, there is some kind of protection placed around me, and getting into the spiritual realm it's a hard journey. Like I said before, you feel lost. Like, it's crazy because I just had a conversation with my mom for like 4 hours, and all these years I never knew how deep she was on a spiritual level, and the things that she felt or the insight that she had, which kind of threw me by surprise, because I was in a place where I was feeling overwhelmed with everything, and I'm like, who can I call right now and talk to that will understand me? And I couldn't think of nobody. And so I just said, let me call my mom and just talk to my mom, because a lot of times when I talk to her, it helps to like just ease my mind, just to make sure she's okay, and checking on her, and politic with her for a little bit. And she kind of surprised me because she felt like something was wrong. So when I started explaining to her like what it was and what I felt, what I was going through, like, she picked up on the energy, and she started to express certain things that she's been through and certain things that she's seen and went through. So it was definitely a sense of relief, because it wasn't to the point where you could look at it like I'm bugging. You don't have to have that feeling because it's somebody who can actually understand these things. This is definitely a hard thing to do because it's like it's so many thoughts and ideas and things that run through your mind, and it's like it's hard to pinpoint a start point to be able to get out in clarity of what you're trying to get out. So this is why it's like, the rough start, but I definitely know that I needed to start somewhere.